unlock when cheering goals are reached. Check the HGC Cheer event page to track progress and see the loot you can unlock. The leaderboards will show who's the biggest fan of your favorite team. To get started, buy some bits by clicking on the Nexus icon at the bottom of chat and select Get Bits. Then, when a team impresses you with skills like these, click on the Nexus icon in chat, select the team logo, add the number of bits you want to use, and a message to cheer them on. You'll summon a team-themed animated cheer mode to celebrate the moment and amplify your voice in chat. The more bits you use, the cooler and more animated the cheer mode. Be sure to link your Blizzard and Twitch accounts to claim your loot when it becomes available. We'll see you in the Nexus.
Welcome back to HGC, where currently Roll20 are sitting nicely at 2-0 in a best-of-5 over Superstars, hoping for a clean 3-0 win. I think Superstars needs a power snack. You want a power snack?
Yeah, I do want a power snack.
Here you go.
So cleverly done. Could that in fact be a delicious small thing that I could get in a convenience store through
with
the aisle?
With an onion taste?
With an onion flavor?
In fact, it is.
That tears through my history over and over again, and you lightly just keep bringing up? Yeah.
That was it.
In between the breaks, they walk up and they just come up to us with an entire bag of Funyuns and just go, "Would you like some?" And think it's dank. And then she plays on it. It's just, you know, how am I supposed to work in these conditions? Like, nobody sees what happens off camera.
Hostile working conditions.
Nobody wants.
How dare you waft nicely smelling onion treats at me? Oh, I don't know how he's going to get through this next game, but somehow he will. It's going to be on Tomb of the Spider Queen, so I know your professionalism will get you through this potential final game of the weekend, Dread. I believe in you.
I mean, you know, I don't think you're the only one. As everybody at home knows, too, the number one thing, you think of Dreadnought, first word that comes to mind, probably professionalism, you know. And so I think that, yes, we, in fact, will be able to rely on that to carry us through this game.
And, in fact, if you can't somehow, I've got some more treats for you underneath the desk.
You're so funny. Oh my gosh, Gilly, we're such good friends. I can't believe that we get to work together. I'm so happy that I'm forced to have a conversation with you for 8 hours when we get to do this.
Oh, that's so nice of you. Wait, was that a hint of sarcasm I detected?
No, it was a hint of Funyun.
Fair. Thought I smelled something.
Superstars busting out the Chromie band.
Wow.
Not willing to give up that first pick. What about Medivh?
Is it Medivh? Is it Medivh?
Ooh. There's a lesser argument for the Medivh ban here of Roll20, but if they ban it, it only greater increases the argument that I had kind of before, because this Medivh on this map is equally as impactful, but in a different manner. It relies a lot more on the rest of your team being good with the Medivh, more than the Medivh being the high-impact, outstanding dude.
Yeah, because this is the #1 Medivh map for Roll20.
It really is.
But Tassadar is also a problem. Offers a lot of wave clear. He is here to stay.
It's just gross, dude. I get actually, like, you know, we use that term like nerd chills in a complimentary manner, but you know when you get goosebumps in like a not good manner? That is me every time I see that Medivh banned by Roll20. Just,
like
gross.
a cold chill seeps through your body.
Get Medivh out of here. Everybody's going to quickly learn that Medivh is secretly my next more hated hero than Tyrande. Even though I like him, unlike the Tyrande, now everybody's quickly going to learn that I've been terrified of this day when he comes in and takes over the meta. He's not there yet, but he's close. He's definitely showing signs of life.
He is.
And that means a lot.
Whether it's Glaurung is the reason, maybe Rich played a hand in that too, ADRD, these Medivh prophets brought him in, and he seems like he's here to stay, and it's a lot in North America. But it leaves open Tassadar. There's a lot of different combos that Tassadar can bring, but the big deal is that he has vision for the turn-in points, he has wave clear for Superstars, and finally we get a Garrosh for Roll20 paired with Malthael, so there's no way for Malthael to counter him.
I was just going to say, the one thing I want to know now for Roll20 is they've been willing to Garrosh Chromie as the 1-2, as the second pick every time they've played Tomb of the Spider Queen. If the Chromie's gone, does Garrosh still hold that strength? Because we've seen their Garrosh value has died on certain maps. So it's like, is that synergy the reasoning? No, that they just feel like Garrosh is that big of a deal. And removing the soft counter of Malthael, it's really nice. Maybe inconvenient displaying your solo lane that high up, but you can also adjust your laning situation if necessary.
I love that pick too, because Superstars was maybe the first team that I thought would want to bring in Malthael anyway, and then so they would prioritize him even higher against Roll20 because of how much Garrosh Roll20 had been playing. Yoda was the first person to pick up Malthael and play him just about every single game, and even though it's not for sure who is playing that solo role, that Yoda has been playing more ranged, just walked off the stage.
I didn't walk off the stage.
He's like had to step back. Even though it is with Yoda playing more ranged in this case, making sure that he can take away and have Goku play that Malthael as a counter. We've got Rhaegar and Leoric.
So let's just view a world where Superstars gets a crazy draft this game. The High Leo could probably...
You're talking about Cho'Gall.
No.
What?
The Immortals composition.
Oh, yeah.
So this is actually a really good situation to where the Immortals composition could come together. It would work. Their draft indicates it right now. It hasn't shown anything too heavy so far. The Rhaegar maybe, but it meets the role that you need necessary to be able to make this happen. So I'm just going to say it because the stars have aligned for this to be the weird draft. And the map and everything and the like has done so. I want a Murky. I want the Immortal composition. I want it to get all about the wave clear, all about the pressure outward. So much so that I actually really would have wished Superstars went almost maybe even a supportless draft. If you either go Immortal style or you go supportless, Tassadar Leo, sacrifice your body, wave clear dominance, that DreamHack Valencia, Fanatics Rise on the map like Tomb where they were able to bust that out.
Well, if they're going to do that, they do it without Gul'dan because Roll20's banned that. Superstars. Do they ban Uther? Uther would be my thought. Oh, they're looking at Greymane, though.
I think that Gul'dan shows that they're afraid of a Horrify or they're afraid of dominant wave clear. If there's too much wave clear on the other side of the table, be afraid of wave clear. So what are you really afraid of, Roll20? Why ban the Gul'dan? Is it an Ariel? That they didn't want to deal with that, and they wanted the Ariel outward even after the rework? And they didn't want to deal with the Horrify split of them clumping and dominating through the map? This is just, it's a very surprising Gul'dan ban.
It is.
Considering all the wave clear already existing for Superstars. Uther. So no Ariel theory.
No, I felt like the Uther was a given because there was already Garrosh and Malthael. I mean, the only other thing would be Stukov.
Tychus?
Yeah, I am...
I mean, what Roll20 has is old school, but it's strong. It just, again, it's, them getting adjustments. And at this point, I feel like Roll20 can do a little bit of anything, and they're going to be able to justify it here. They also, you have the Uther Odin synergy, which is nothing to laugh at. Malthael to prep people for Odin. Those are really time-sensitive heroics, though, and something Superstars might be able to abuse. So this is where we get our Murky, right?
Am I crazy that Tychus is because they're still a little bit scared of Cho'Gall? Greymane was banned for Cursed Bullet. Leoric was high-picked, who has % base damage.
I mean,
yeah, there's no Ariel.
The minute my opponent picked Malthael, I would never do it. And with that, when I picked Tass and I've got a Malthael,
Yeah.
like, I think you are right. But whether or not accurate in terms of presentation of the power level of it all, it could very much have been that case. But if I pick Tass and my opponent picks Malthael, my entire dreams of going a Cho'Gall probably drop pretty heavily.
Yeah, Tass Cho'Gall is not ideal.
Especially if I picked Rhaegar. Like, only if that was an Ariel would I be like, you know what, I think you might be a little bit more onto it. Like, but I do think that had to have been some of the thought process going into it. And then a Falstad as the last pick here for Roll20.
Well, Rhaegar used to be played as the supportive choice with Cho'Gall before it was Ariel, before Ariel was out.
But it's like, Rhaegar versus Ariel is very lopsided.
I know,
like,
but Ariel would have probably given it away. I don't know. I don't know if they would play it. But that Tychus just seems so weird, and the Greymane ban. Greymane, maybe not, because it's Roll20. But I don't know.
It could have been the idea behind it. I mean, Tychus on a map like Tomb of the Spider Queen is pretty effective. It also is going to be pretty oppressive when it comes to the laning situations, depending on how they want to play it out. I actually really like the idea of an Odin wailing away during a Tormented Souls. Like, I don't know how you lose a team fight where both those heroics are used at the same level, much like Genji's Dragon Blade with it. Odin is just a massive long-range nuke that can constantly keep up the pressure. So I I never thought about the synergy before, but now that we see it, I'm like, why aren't we seeing a little bit more? I like it a lot more now. But I do agree with you. It's just we haven't seen Tychus at all in NA. He hasn't been there. So for this to be here, the high Leo before the secondary ban, like there were a lot of wonky things that really went into it. And we came up with either I wanted the murky composition, you go ahead and get yourself a Cho'Gall. Either way,
I get my Cho'Gall.
we're both disappointed.
Yeah.
Because now we got standard compositions. At least the Tyrael here for Superstars.
Yeah, we've got Tyrael Lunar. We'll talk more about it. Let's get into Game 3, though. Tomb of the Spider Queen with Roll20 having a 2-0 so far in the series. TaS Lunara. You've got Lunara with the slows, Leoric with the slows. Unfair advantage, getting a lot from that. All right, for reals, though, I got to get rid of the rest of these Funyuns because they smell weird.
I'm just trying to think about, is there anything talent-wise that we are looking at that maybe we're missing out? Because we talked about the draft, and some things do seem a little bit weird. Not that crazy, but slightly abnormal. So is there talents that we're missing out on? Some adjustments, is it a judgment composition that all ends? I'm still not seeing anything. I mean, I almost threw out the words March of the Black King, but I don't know if you can say something any more offensive to Leoric players.
You know what, now that I'm looking at Tychus for the 15th time, maybe it was just a deny, because they're Garrosh.
So Roll20 went to a situation to where they almost looked unstoppable with the Garrosh to the point where they have to ban and pick their first picks all around it.
Well, they came in with a surprise factor of how strong Garrosh was. Nobody knew how strong Garrosh was going to be.
So
now people know, and they have had time to figure out. It's basically the Gale Force and Braxis equivalent of them making sure that they're constantly figuring out how to stay ahead of the game with their Garrosh.
I like it. I like the argument. Urho, sad that his Q was not available there after the flip. That's first blood over to Roll20. And the laning situation of Superstars going with an uncommon 2-1-2, leaving Tassadar to be the solo.
And for Roll20, they've got Falstad in the top. Uther and Garrosh can rotate around trying to get picks. And then Tychus mid and Malthael in the bottom.
Kiro's looking to go down and match up into the 1v1 on bottom. Daihu using the Wraith Walk after getting flipped. We have seen a couple of Leorics into Garrosh's Gilly, and a lot of level 7s taken. A lot of builds, honestly, from Leoric. So pretty much about any option has been taken at some point. Have you concluded on what you would like to see, mainly when talking about Lingering Apparition, Hardened Bones, or into the Royal Focus, all that style of play?
I think we're going to see a Hardened Bones at level 4. I can't decide what I would like to see more. Royal Focus, because there's on a Pale Horse for Malthael, and so trying to make sure that they're both keeping up with rotations back and forth. But because it's a small map, and if he is going to continually over and over again be the focus and make sure that he is the one who is tanking those Wrecking Balls of Garrosh, then Hardened Bones makes a lot of sense.
Icona, dude. Just scared away Goku. He's the true support battler here down on bottom. It's a full party, man. Everybody's bringing in the friends. Justin lost his cooldown there after the dimensional shift. Camp goes over to Superstars. It's the small victories here that matter for Superstars at this point. And that was a pretty big win there, led by Icona on that Rhaegar.
All right, we see in the rhythm. And I wanted to talk to you about this, and I forgot about it.
Let's
and
go.
I just remembered. My thought was, versus a Garrosh, and obviously this time Tychus is with the Garrosh, but versus it, what about a fully loaded, just cooldown reduction? Because you don't want the bigger they are, for obvious reasons, because the time when you need minigun to be effective is the time when he has a crap ton of armor, which is when he's almost dead, and then it's not going to be used because the bigger they are. Maybe in the rhythm then would be another one potentially, but I was thinking about fully loaded. Just cooldown reduction.
I like the idea actually a lot. Because yeah, we've talked a lot about behind the screens, off screens about what is Garrosh, the math behind his health and everything. And the bigger they are, doesn't seem to really make a lot of sense. If anything, it feels like it kind of is healing him to a certain extent. So to go for the CDR and just, it's one of those, like, it doesn't answer the Garrosh directly towards the strengths, but all the tools that seem to answer towards the strengths are half of the reason Garrosh is so strong. So I feel like that's a cooler or better way, maybe, even to approach that problem, is just be like, well, you'll just be more effective more often, but maybe not when you think we need it or opening. It's just try and get as much damage out as possible, and hopefully it gets a kill.
Yeah.
I like it.
I haven't had time to try it yet.
I haven't either, but now that you've said it, I feel like it's got a pretty good angle. At least got the thought process behind it.
I like thinking about Garrosh counters. I'm assuming that Roll20 has done the same, given that they play it so much. Looking at the gyms, Superstars have done a pretty good job of being able to push back Roll20 in the lanes, and that has afforded them the first Webweaver phase.
Did Daihu used to play a lot of Leoric back in the day? Because that was a pretty clever Leoric transition there. It wasn't a big play, but it was everything done about max range, perfectly calculated. He's looking really controlled there on that Leo.
Potentially, but the only one I knew him to just be an absolute monster was his ETC, but he's been a Warrior player for like as long as Fury maybe? He's been around for a long time playing Warrior.
He very much has. Every time I think of Daihu, I think of his old teammate too, Lex Uther.
Oh yeah.
Just because of his
name. He never
name.
played Uther when I casted him.
You know, every time I played against him, it seems like he was on the hero. It's not a good time. Full level lead here for Superstars.
Yeah, Roll20 just doing what they can to try to defend the Webweavers, but we talked about the wave clear for Superstars. Strong with their Tassadar, Rhaegar with Lightning Bond, they have Leoric too, and they're making things happen with this Webweaver phase, exactly what we'd like to see from them.
Gilly, I am the world's biggest Superstars fan. Hold on a minute. I can't believe Bud survived that. Justin not even getting the flip on the proper target and still able to keep it up. So that wasn't fact. That was more of, I was trying to give you an example and an opportunity to tell me why I shouldn't be as excited as I might be excited in this game. Because I just watched my favorite team lose the last 2 games, and now they're a full level lead before pre-10. Like, should I be hyped? Should I not be hyped?
They have 33 out of the 55 gems necessary to turn in. They have heroic abilities extremely soon. They're using their Murking hero to get the Giants in the bottom. They got a lot of front walls, but they are missing quite a few gems to get this next turn in.
So
if they can get this next Webweaver phase, things look really good for them. If they can get all of the forts with them, this might be their game.
It might be their game. I think I completely agree with you. It's all about Webweaver phase number 2. If it goes over to Superstars, it's got to be feeling nice. But Goku dumps off 31. I guess not all of them, as he's got a couple of his own. Roll20 is going to be able to get the 10s before the Webweavers descend, or at least close enough to the timing of it to where it will not be a problem. Daihu on the opposite side. He's got the Wraith Walk, even turns around and tombs. No 10 still here for Roll20 as they getting cocky, getting confident, and they eat their aggression. Immediately turned from Superstars. Love what we just saw there from Daihu. Brilliant play.
Yeah, great punishment. Daihu catches. Immediately the team follows up with that with the Sanctification and Archon, and that enables Superstars to get a lot easier of a clear from these Webweavers. And Roll20, for maybe the second time, but definitely in another game, still getting just a little too overconfident against Superstars.
Getting a bit too confident, and about at the worst case window, because I just had asked you, paint a picture here. Let me know what I should be looking for Superstars. And if Urho can make it out, the biggest thing was about the secondary Webweaver phase. But if the secondary Webweaver phase doesn't matter for Roll20, that's about as good as the next one going over to Superstars. We were concerned more on who would gain over the next few seconds. We weren't concerned on the gem count itself. So this being dumped, and more importantly, again, not getting a fort, only a couple of front walls, and experience being in favor of Superstars.
Still.
It is 10 out of 10 for Superstars, but they can't let up here. There's still 68 gems in the hands of Roll20. They could try and snake that turn in.
Superstars has the gems available for a turn in from that too, and with the level lead, and more importantly, with the type of heroes who are all really good at being able to push back waves and stall out any turn-ins. They just need to make sure they have a better setup than last time. Last time they had solo Daihu in the top, and that was a problem because he was thrown and then had to Wraith Walk away, and that gave enough time for the rest of the members of Roll20 to come in and get that turn-in. This time, they're in more of a better setup. They have the bruisers in the mid, which enables them to go back and forth between the two turn in points. And then they're trying to make sure that somebody on each side is turning in wherever they are not finding any of the members of Roll20.
And this is what they've got to look out for, though, is a flight from Glarong into a Gus Tormented Souls. You know, I wanted to bring that up before Glarong ended up showing it here, but what Roll20 is trying to do is essentially bait the members of Superstars to overcommit, and then you Odin, Divine Shield, and Tormented Souls after gussing them into your team. You don't lose the fight. Our fear when you see Tormented Souls is when you don't get the fight you want. Falsad conveniently kind of brings the enemy to you. And with the transition, Superstars is giving over to the members of Roll20 because they are so concerned with stopping this turn-in. It might cause them to go out a little bit too far.
It's not that bad for Superstars. They got through the flight, and all the time the bruisers were pushing in the mid. So once Roll20 had to disengage and go deal with that, that's when Superstars hit 13, and that's when they would feel more confident to get aggressive anyway. They turn in the rest of the gems necessary to get Web Weavers. They're setting up. They have the Giants in the bottom two. They're set up really well here to make sure that that bottom can push for free with the Giants and the Web Weaver, and they can make sure and take out the rest of the forts.
Who would have thought Superstars is going to be the team that preps a game best to be the first to take a game off of Roll20 in phase number 2? I can tell you the answer was definitely not a man named Dreadnought.
But it makes sense that it was on Tomb of the Spider Queen. They have long been a wave clear type of team, one that likes to make rotations, likes to try to control the battleground, the lanes, and when they are in control of a game is when they are most likely to play fluidly. It's like they have a mental block when they're behind that they're not able to overcome sometimes. They gotta overcome this with no die who gets flipped into the team, but using that hardened bones sanctification after the fact, Justine very nearly falls down, but there's the Gust and the Tormented Souls.
The Gust and the Tormented Souls gaining value here for the members. Ancestral goes down, but it does not land, so that is going to be Leoricless Superstars, as they are now trying to get the retreat. Prismat in that Odin form has a dash in a few seconds, but I don't think anyone is going to get in range. Justine barely survived that thanks to the Divine Shield of Uther and Buds here. That was such a tense moment. And Roll20, after winning that fight, they now have a huge control section over the next couple of minutes. They just got to make sure they get themselves the turn in and be very hyper aware of the 16 window that Superstars is closing in on.
Yeah, they don't have that much time, and they need to turn in all 55. They don't have any pre-turned in so far, and Leoric is back. Set up from Superstars to once again slow a turn in without fully committing to a fight. Who gets flipped.
They also don't have a Divine Shield or Odin, which are core to their team fight capabilities. Splintered Spear doing work there. Glarong has barrel roll, buying time. Yoda goes up. Roll20 can't take this fight.
He needs to be healed.
He's down.
That is why, ladies and gentlemen, we have Lunara versus an Uther. Long cooldown timers, even with the burst heals, even with the armors, Lunara's poison can always find a way. 16 is here for Superstars. Roll20 back off. Bruiser stolen by Superstars. Signature Superstars camp steal maneuver.
And Tomb goes in onto Buds. He Divine Shields himself. He thought that the gems, the 25 gems, are worth that Divine Shield use. Interesting here from Roll20. Maybe a bit of panic even being displayed here as they're down so much. Glarong flies on through. He Gus. Goku, Tormented Souls. Prismat in that Odin. It's doing work, but nobody going down. The Gus is only hitting one target, and more importantly, it's not hitting the targets that they want. It's hitting beefy Leorics and Tyraels and ones that can sustain through this Tormented Souls. So Prismat on that Odin doesn't look nearly as, you know, high impact as I assume this combo would look.
Yeah, sending in Airho and Airho not even feeling the need to drop Sanctification shows how controlled and how good Superstars feel in this game right now. They have the 16 advantage still. Looking at gyms, they are getting fairly close to the next turn-in phase, and ideally they would be able to get that right around the time before Roll20 can get 16. They're setting up to make sure that the mid wave is pushed. The waves are all pushed on Roll20's side of the battleground, so that does slow down Superstars from being able to get into the gym collection business.
Which means they got to get in the boss collection business. Yoda, he's going to be sent there with a lot of the members of Superstars.
Posty is maybe the one who is charged with trying to stop turn-in.
Yeah, he's anchoring, dismounting. Goaltending up on bottom, not even needed. He displays himself through mid. Roll20 focuses down to bottom. So the boss will go over to Superstars, and Roll20 might be able to get a turn in. Delay 1, delay 2. And Roll20 gets foiled. Everything falls apart.
They back out.
This is Roll20 not understanding what to do, kind of. That was very passive, knowing that your opponent is on boss, or you should be able to assume it. Falstat's dealing with the boss on top. He might fly through another gust, but he's got to hit a lot of members if he wants to do a taunt flip. A lot of damage. Sanctification goes Ancestral 2. Gust is being reserved. He puts Goku into a bad spot. And now Justin is healing on through. Odin getting a lot of work. Iakona's accepted his fate. He goes down.
The first to fall, and Daihu's going to go down too as the sacrificial Leoric. There's still 3 members, Hosty, Yoda, and Airho. And the boss takes out the front wall. You're dancing here, and what's up?
How these team fights are playing out is just so interesting, especially from the perspective of Superstars and I don't know. It's more Roll20, but then Roll20 is doing stuff that Superstars is kind of like, what's the end goal here? And then immediately Superstars kind of overreacts to it and then makes it all standard team fight. What you would assume kind of seems to be going out the window here. And it's just everything where I'm like, all right, this is going to happen. And then I'm like second guessing, going like, that isn't what happened at all. They are not committing to that.
It was nice to see Glaurung make the adjustment of waiting until after the flip and then forcing Sanctification to ensure that their goal, their setup with the Gust into Tormented Souls would work out a lot better that time. Roll20 still has their Web Weavers, and they need to get a lot done here. 2 of their 3 keeps are almost taken out, which would be a difficult spot to come back in this game. So they've got to make the most of the Web Weavers they currently have on the board. 1 fort goes down, top has been saved, and there's no mid Web Weaver left. It's only this one in the bottom lane, and Roll20 still posturing around it.
The biggest thing here is the fact that Prismaticism holds so many gems of his own, and that was the first Web Weaver phase of the game. That means Prismat plus about every other iteration of any other player on the members of Roll20 can sneak a turn in together. And when you have somebody stacking that many and it's a backline member like Prismat, it really, drastically rises your chances of turning things into the later stage of the game. And so Roll20 is kept themselves just at the range they needed to still be into this game. First delay, taunt, flip. It's going to be focused on the Leo. He goes down, but it's just a Leoric. That is by no means too big of a setback here for Superstars.
Except the problem is that Leoric will be back really fast, but that still doesn't stop Superstars from being 4v5 right at this moment. Nice sleeping strike to avoid, but Goku's in.
Goku is in. Justin's very, very low. Heal comes out from Buds. Nobody down quite yet. Yoda isolated, gets a Tash Shield. Now he's going to turn on to Goku. Buds comes through, but it's all about Glaurung. He gets the 3 gems in. That is a Web Weaver phase for Roll20. Even Gusting, trying to make sure Superstars cannot get aggressive.
Yeah, they saw Daihu was really close to being back up, and they wanted to make sure that they could gust everyone else away so there was no follow-up for an Entomb.
Superstars are going to win this game if Roll20 cannot make something happen with this Web Weaver phase.
And they don't have 20, and Superstars are almost there.
It's about the Sanctification. That's the one thing that has me scared. Every time we've looked at Tormented Souls, the Saints has been responsive, but Gust is 20 seconds different than the other 2. Buds actually even uses his 16 Benediction. He's got Divine Shield. Daihu goes down. He still has the double heal too. Buds is comfortable prepping that stun. And Superstars gets punished here. They're now down a Leoric. They have to turn with their 20s. They have to make this fight happen.
Man, everyone's really low. Airho wants to go in for the charge, but Hosty was still attacking one of the Web Weavers. Justin throws everyone back. Double taunt, takes out Lunara. Airho's the next in trouble.
Glaurung's got Flight and Gust coming off online just now. When are they going to use it? 55 seconds for the Lunara. Hosty's the focus now. Daihu in that ghost form, getting the slow. Bottom Web Weaver's the last to stand after Tyrael deals with that up on top.
Oh, Hosty. Dimensional shift
Rode the
has
wave
been
there.
used. Yeah, he did. Surfing.
Surfing Tassadar.
Roll20 about to take down a keep from Superstars, even though they got very far behind structurally and quite far behind in experience and maybe weren't quite used to that feeling. In the end, that has been made better. They have gotten their 20s, they have Storm Talons, and they take out a keep. So if they win another decisive team fight, they can run over and get that 12-0 status.
The big old 12-0 with this bottom turn-in. Superstars isn't out of it yet. They got the big lead. They did what we've seen happen quite often in Tomb of the Spider Queen. When you get that double turn, if you don't get enough map objectives up and don't have enough split pressure, you can't always maybe end the game in the manner that you would like to do so, but it's still pretty close. That bottom keep isn't that much. Maybe a boss play. They have Holy Ground Sanctification. We've got Spectral Leech for Leo, and I mean, that is always a great tool to have in team fighting.
Yeah, Holy Arena is a big deal to enable more damage for the team, and the longer Sanctification. Next Web Weaver phases are up, and Roll20 is attempting to take out the final fort standing in the way of them and having all the forts down. But it also allows bottom and top to push sort of for free. This is where Roll20 shows up, and eventually they know that Superstars are going to have to rotate out somewhere else and deal, especially with bottom, so it doesn't get on the core. They take out the fort, they rotate up quickly, seeing everybody in the bottom to try to make sure that they can get damage done to this keep and keep the Web Weaver here in the top as healthy as it can be for the continued siege.
Odin with the big red button.
Twilight Archon.
Oh wow, Glarung with the flight in, forces to use the Gust. Yoda did the leaping strike on over though, and so now he's in a terrible spot. Sanctification wasn't used to keep him up. Divine Shield keeps Glarung alive, and there is the Holy Arena. They get themselves a garage, but I don't think it's going to matter. Prismat is having a heyday there in Odin.
He is, and Goku's sitting on the rest of the members too. He's untouched. So is Glaurung. 3 people down as a 4th falls for Rhaegar, and Roll20 even being behind so far down in this game. Still able to win a fight that matters, make the plays with the late game Web Weavers, ensure that they kept a lot of their gems so that they could make these plays. They will be able to take out Superstars 3-0 in this series, winning their 4th series in a row of Part 2, 12-0 in games.
Roll20 here is making a name for themselves in North America, putting fear in every opponent they face. I am just so happy to see this here from them. The more display of dominance from the top end of our teams, you know, here against some of the, you know, lesser teams to be able to face against, and that's still continuing the trend of that dominance I have been looking for a long while. Granted, it's not as much of like a, ooh, can they win? Oh, is this going to win? But it still is pretty for me. I don't know. Something about watching just well-executed play, no matter how lopsided it is so fun to watch.
I think the best thing for Roll20 and why maybe it feels so good to be able to see them be dominant is because they were denied the Western Clash. They started out with their role swap, and it was scary for Roll20. Something that we figured it would be because of the highly integrated way that they draft, the way that they play. We felt it would take extra time to integrate Goku into the full fold of the team and figure out, you know, what does Goku bring that we need to adjust and change? But we started to see slowly that ramp up, and unfortunately for them was slightly too late for them to be able to qualify for the Western Clash, and they were devastated to not be able to qualify for that. But then winning Bloodlust set them at a great point in the break. They got some analysis perspective from having Glaurung do analysis at the Western Clash, and then they came in with a vengeance. They want to prove that not only are they the best team in North America now, but that they are going to the HGC finals. They are not missing another LAN event.
I feel like it's such a huge statement from them on the risk level that they were willing to take with transition into into Goku and ridding of Yoda and moving over to Superstars comes down to the fact that if we look at all the North American teams, especially at the top, other than Roll20 esports, which they picked 2 players up and they've been a duo forever, so I don't know if I view it the same way, but they're the only ones who actually felt comfortable like roster swapping. Like Tempo Storm, they identified that they felt like they had problems. They're willing to roll swap to be able to make out for it. But the only ones who are like, you know what, we think we need a major change and was willing to take that while still claiming 1 and 2 slot was Roll20. So for that to be a risk taken and paying off, it's huge. It's really awesome to see a team be able to get away with that.
Well, Justin is here now to talk to us after the win. Justin, you know, I got to ask, what does it feel like to be 12-0 right now?
It would feel a little bit better if the last game wasn't so close, but it feels pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty close. We got to see your Garrosh again, but we've also seen you be willing to now bring in more ETC. Is this... We had heard that you guys felt like Garrosh was going to be really strong from Prismaticism because of the changes, because of the buffs for him. Is this because you feel like teams are starting to figure Garrosh out and so you want to step away from him, or is it just you showing how good you are on some other tanks?
I think it's a cross between both. It's mostly I think there's a lot of Garrosh counters, and people are starting to figure out what those are. So I think on some maps he's still really good, and he's like really high priority, but on other maps he's not so much. I think he's good, but yeah, there's definite counters, so he's not like first pick every game like we did in the first week, so I don't think we can get away with that anymore.
Okay. Well, speaking of counters, we were kind of questioning the Tychus pick. Can you go through why you guys chose to pick Tychus in that game?
We picked Tychus because they banned Greymane, I believe.